Hi there, it's Sam from Pootles.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm recreating a box that I made back in May. It was one that was designed by my two older children. They wanted the boxes, and this is my most popular blog post. It's the project that has been pinned on Pinterest far more than anything else. It has been cased all over the world. I get copies of people's versions of the box sent to me from all over the world, and I never did it in a metric version. Back then in May when I was first doing videos, and this was one of my first, I only worked in either metric or imperial. So I've come back today to recreate it for you, partly because Jacob said, "Mummy, why haven't I got one?" And I felt guilty, and I thought, well, you know what, that's a fair point, he hasn't got one. So these two were made with what was it, International Bazaar Designer Series paper, which obviously has retired out of the catalogue, but it is on the clearance rack, and I think it's got about 60% off. So I've made theirs with International Bazaar. Jacob's, I've made it with Quattro Fancy. He loves that. But Oliver, and it's going to go into his bedroom, at only 2, he doesn't have a brightly coloured bedroom. It's all sort of muted, soft colours. So his, I'm making in the Natural Composition Specialty paper, which is has got a glazed finish on it. So I'm going to make it for him with that. Now the cardstock measures 10.5 inches by 7.5, or 26.5 centimetres by 19 centimetres. And the first scoring, you start with the shorter side at the top, and the first score line comes at 2.5 inches, and you do have to press and maybe go a couple of times on the specialty paper. So 2.5 inches and 5 inches, which in metric is 6.3 centimetres and 12.7, so definitely get your Stampin trimmer out. Don't panic about writing down dimensions now, all of the details will be on my blog post. Now, turning with the long side at the top, the first score line is at 1 inch, but you only come down to this first horizontal score line. So at 1 inch down to there, so that's 2.5 centimetres. The next one is at 1.5 inches, and you go all the way down, and that's 4 centimetres. The next one is 4 inches all the way down, and that's 10.1 centimetres. The next one, only again to this first horizontal score line, is at 4.5 inches, which is 11.5 centimetres. And then 6.5 inches all the way down, which is 16.5 centimetres. And the last one is at 9.25 all the way down, and that is 23.5 centimetres. So these two here, we're going to recreate it, but actually by turning the cardstock over, and then do exactly the same. So 1 inch down to the first score line, and 4.5 inches down to the first score line. Okay, come back, so you've got the short side at the top, and score down to the second score line. So you've got a half one here that goes only to here, and then you've got the second one that goes all the way across. So at 1 inch all the way down to the second one, and that's 2.5 centimetres, and then at 6.5 inches again down to the second one, and that is 16.5 centimetres. So that's what you're left with, a funny little grid work. And we've made these because these will be the side closure flaps that will stick to this part of the box, and the same here. And actually with my original one, I had actually cut it in advance and I didn't show any of the cutting, but I'm going to do that now. So if you start with all of these funny little sections down here, cut down to the first full score line on both of those, and here as well. So all of these down to the first full score line. And then what we need to do is basically release this section here. So get rid of that bit, get rid of that bit. So that's allowed us to have that bit there. I've not trimmed very neatly there. And then the same over here. Again, we just want to release that section there. Leave it free. So that's allowed those to be separated. And then the same over here. What's the easiest way to show you? I would say come all the way down to here. So cut from the bottom all the way down to this long one, so just past this shorter section. So I'm going to cut, I'm going to do it quite quickly. Oops. And then the same on the other side. So hopefully you can see that. So I've come just past this section, and we're going to do the same. We're going to separate these, so this bit is also free. Keep these big pieces of cardstock, we're going to use them in a minute, or some of them. Okay, so that's those sections clear. I'm just going to take off a little corner there and there. Doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be neat. And then from here, we want to, where's my box? Want to create this sloping side here. So this section, I'm going to do a line from there to there, and I'm going to do it freehand because I'm brave. So that's going to be the side closure of the box. And then the same on the opposite side. Just freehand to there. You could take a ruler if you wanted to. I'm not going to. That's probably because I've already made goodness knows how many of these boxes. Right, now fold on all of the score lines, and apparently leave your nail polish again on your grid paper. This is not good nail polish if it's doing that. I might send it back. So fold on your score lines, and there's one that you need to pay particular attention to. So you've got this small section here. Keep it out, this small section here, and then this one here. This is the join that is there, and it tends to want to ping open sometimes if you haven't burnished it well. So the simplest thing is actually just to go backwards and forwards a couple of times. Bring up the sides, score those. Now at this point you would put your designer series paper on, and if you want to put DSP on, these measure 2 1/4 by 2.5 inches, and this one down here is 2 1/4 by 1 inch, which in metric is 5.7 by 6.3 and 5.7 by 2.5, and you would stick them to these two sections here, so these little ones that are away from all the bulk part of the box. Obviously, you know, this is patterned, I'm not going to put anything on there. My liquid glue, actually, you know what, I'm going to put snail on just for speed, I think. So onto these little bits here, and fold them up and line them up. One there, one there, and the same over here. Just fold it up and line it up. And you can see why I've put this little sort of groove here. That's because it's, if you've got your measurements absolutely spot on, there won't be an issue, but if you hadn't, it would try and pop itself open. Right, last thing to do is to put a little closure on it, and I've got one of the Naturals buttons. What are they called? Designer Naturals buttons. So there's loads of different sort of, well, obviously natural buttons. I'm going to put one of those on, and I'm going to put a few mini glue dots on the back, and I've just tied it with some linen thread. Hold the box closed and put the button under where you want it to be, and apparently not in the middle. Try and get it in the middle, and then that will be your closure. So that's how it closes. And then finally, I think I did that too quickly with the snail. Finally, one of these sections here, probably you can ink onto this section, but don't stamp onto it, because it's almost like the emboss resist effect, because it is embossed. So I'm going to take the other side. I've got an O for Oliver from the Morning Post set, and that didn't stamp very well. Let's try that again. That's better. And I've got two punches, the 1 1/4 and the 1 3/8, so this is the slightly smaller one. So I'll have one of those, and then the 1 3/8. Which way round should I have? Oh, I might have it that way round. one of those, some dimensionals for the back of each of these. So I'm going to put my O on there, that on the back there, and pop it on top. And that is my, or actually technically it's Jack and Luke's sloping sided box that they designed, and I'm a bit upset about that. I don't like that bit. Do it neater than me. I rush for videos. But that's the box that the boys came up with, and there's one for each of my 4 little boys, Jack, Luke, Jacob and Oliver. I hope you like it. I hope you appreciate that I've spent time and put it into metric for you. But thank you very much for watching. Do go and check out the clearance rack. Sunshine and Sprinkles is in it as well in the UK. That was my favourite. That one I loved. But International Bazaar was the very first paper I bought, and that's that one. And obviously there's all of the rest of the papers through my shop too. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye.